Okay, here's another League of Legends game coming your way, this time with Morgana support. And this is the final game of the 420 patch. It's one that I recorded shortly after the other Morgana game. I've had it sitting in the hard drive for a little while, just because it's below 25 minutes. I usually like to put two up. It's just I didn't have enough time to get one, and we moved on to a new patch first. So right here I'm predicting that we have a conventional team matchup, but if you looked at the video you know better than to trust what I just pointed out. So the bottom lane is going to be Karthus, Malzahar. The nice thing is I will have the black shield to kind of mess with them. I don't remember if I get that second, but the key thing is when you're in a lane with two magic users like this, the banner of command is really broken. The thing is, Malzahar can kind of negate it because of his Voidling, but normally if you were in something where they don't have something to help them clear it, as in AD, then you can really shove the wave in. Anyway, so this game I'm going to try to build it, but you'll see how things play out. You can probably guess how it's going to be just based off of the time frame for the game. But let's go over how Morgana works. Your passive gives you a source of spell vamp for your spells, so your spells will heal you if you damage the enemy with them. The problem is, with the exception of Morgana's Q, her other moves are AoE, so they are only 1/3 as effective, if I remember correctly. So all in all, her passive is really marginal. Q is Dark Binding, decent range linear skill shot. It has an awkward hitbox, which is why Morgana is sometimes a bit of a controversial character. If you hit the enemy, you snare them in place. They are actually held down for quite a while, and once you have it at the move at max rank, it's a full 3 seconds. Which I believe is the longest CC in the game that actually keeps you locked down. Otherwise, Wither would be the longest running anyway. W is tainted, or it's something to do with soil. You leave a patch of soil on the ground that damages all the enemies over time that stand in it. So that one's even worse for Morgana since it's both a dot and an AoE, I guess. As for this, I'm trying to pressure them, but all in all, Jinx is not able to wave clear that well this early. So we do have to eat Malzahar's harass, and I did take the soil second. But the nice thing about the black shield is I can use that to kind of tank his visions, which I will demonstrate in a moment. First things first, we have to hit level 3. But one thing I can do is I can use the soil, the spell vamp on it, to heal me while I tank his visions. And that's all of their pushing power. So once the visions are out of the way, they are in a bit of a bad spot. You can see Jinx is trying to harass them since they do have to wait for the visions to finish the target. Otherwise, they're just kind of wasting time.
I'll have my revenge.
But right here I'm applying a little bit of zoning, and the other key thing for Malzahar is if he doesn't actually get the visions to bounce around a bit, then he doesn't get mana back. So right here I tanked the visions, I put up the black shield to absorb the damage, and just like that, Malzahar does not regain the mana he spent. To make things worse for him, he just took a lot of damage and he got to cast his Q and whiff. But on the other hand, Jinx went way too hard when we need to actually just try to run them out of mana. So she pays for it with, what, 80% of her health? And all in all, our chance for aggression is really diminished. Sadly, Morgana's spell costs are pretty high, period, but especially early game when you don't have any form of regen. Spell Thieves doesn't really count in my book. And while I did burn through the potions, it's not like I have enough money to actually upgrade anything by going back right now, so I want to stick around lane a little bit longer and maybe be able to get a few more stacks of my Spell Thief to get some extra gold. But you can see right here, Malzahar pretty much comes out ahead in terms of mana. I used my Black Shield on Jinx in the event she was going to end up tanking the visions. And this is just one of those lanes where we need to wait a little while. Jinx's Flame Chompers combined with my Dark Binding and Soul Shackles are going to give us a lot of lockdown, and you have to realize both of these guys are immobile. So if the jungler actually comes down here, it's even worse for them. It's just we have the means to hurt them if given the opportunity. So Karthus is running himself out of mana. One thing they can actually do to keep themselves topped off is Malzahar has to have his visions and then Karthus has to last hit, because the passive on Defile will give him mana back from his last hits, and right here I'm doing the tank trick. Sadly at this point his visions do a lot more damage than my Black Shield can mitigate. It's just I'm trying to run them out of mana. It's a sustain game going on here. And I can go ahead and pick up the Frostfang for increased regen, I believe, and I'll also get more gold, so I can speed up my build while still being a nuisance. Nasus goes ahead and picks up Vayne, and Jinx is in a bad spot, but she survives. So that is the Ignite from Malzahar, and they get some alone time in the lane. But picking up where I left off, the E is your Black Shield. It's a shield that will negate, well, it absorbs magic damage alone, no physical damage. It has the additional effect of negating any CC received while the shield is still alive. If the shield gets destroyed as a result of the spell, then the CC still does not count. It has to be a separate spell afterwards that applies it. And finally, your ult is Soul Shackles. It's a short-range AoE around Morgana. You don't target it or anything. It's just you walk into the enemy, you push your ult, the Soul Shackles will connect, dealing some damage, and they deal damage the longer they stay intact. They are tether-type spells where if the enemy does not break them within a certain time frame by getting a certain distance away from Morgana or killing her, they get snared in place. And Zhonya's Hourglass synergizes very well with this because it's one of those ults where you aren't channeling once you have it casted, so you can go ahead and go stasis and everything will be fine. Right here he has his Chalice to deal with some of the sustain problems, so the tanking trick isn't really going to work too well, but you can still try to make things as miserable for him as possible. And I don't think Jinx actually got much in terms of AD on this trip back, so it's not like we have a lot of power to push against them. I can kind of thin the wave out with my Tormented Soil, that's the name of the W. With the soil, and from there, maybe Jinx can last hit, but it's one of those times where you have to rely on your solo queue random guy. So right there, Mal's is kind of locked down. He went on me for one reason or another, and Aatrox secures the kill. So with Malzahar gone, that's still a lot of pressure off the lane. Thing is, if Karthus actually had his ult, he could be a little bit of a nuisance, but we still have a little bit of time to enjoy it while he's kind of harmless. And the Black Shield will offer some protection from Requiem, so that's what the other nice thing about having it. As for this, Jinx makes that mistake that you saw Xerath make in the Pentakill Karthus video, and she really has no reason at all being up there with Karthus and Yi present. But I can go back. I think I pick up Ruby Crystal and Fairy Charm. Ruby Crystal's nice for the HP, and of course the Fairy Charm means more mana, so more poke, more shields, etc. So when you're running into an unusual lane like this, the trick is always don't die. So far we've done a decent job with it, but the game is only 40% over. We still have a little ways to go. And sadly I don't think this one is a flawless game for me. It is one that I don't really remember well because I've been holding on to it for a decent while. I think I was actually anticipating the Annie support, which is why I grabbed Morgana. Because I think Morgana is probably your best pick into Annie. You can put up your Black Shield to discourage her from performing her Flash Tibbers, and you can provide some zoning with your Dark Binding and Tormented Soil. As for this, Mal's just burned his Q, so I can go ahead and move forward. And we might be able to deny him a little bit. It's just really hard to deny him since he can just drop his visions and then walk away. Like so. So right there, I put the shield on myself, and I was able to walk through Karthus' Wall of Pain. I got to block some of Mal's vision damage, and we also get to do quite a bit of a number on Karthus. So right there, Jinx went ahead and popped the heal. Not entirely sure that was necessary. I didn't have Black Shield up to mitigate it, sadly, but it's possible he could have been communicating with Annie and they just timed it so Cassidy went down instead. As for this, I went ahead and put up the Black Shield in the event that Malz was going to suppress me. He could have done it over his null zone and would have been ugly. Sadly, Aatrox arrived, but the Wall of Pain was placed to really maximize the slow. I don't know what Karthus is actually maximizing first. The Q, of course, does more damage if he maxes that. The E gives a better mana return from his Q, and the W gives a better, I think, MR reduction and slow. But I don't really remember the Wall of Pain too well right now. So if he's content with playing support, he can go a few different ways. It's just normally I would not recommend Karthus being a support because all of his power is tucked away late game, and then you have to factor in the whole... He doesn't have hard CC, all he has is a slow to keep things at bay, and his slow also plays a... It takes away MR, not armor, so your normal AD carry can't actually take advantage of that. Few exceptions that are kind of weird though, like Tristana, where it might actually be able to work. But the dragon still stands, which is good news for us. Kassadin picks off Yi, which is kind of huge. It helps us get through Kassadin's slow start, and it also helps us keep Yi kind of stalled. Second Fairy Charm is more important than the boots, I'd say, since I just need to zone them. It would be nice to dodge the Lay Waste and all the stuff Malz is going to sling at us. It's just... I have mana problems. I don't really like all the mana changes that were made going into Season 5. All in all, I'd say the AD carries definitely got indirectly buffed by this because it's just hard for everyone else to get the stuff they need to cast spells. And by AD carries, I guess I should say all auto attackers in general, since Tryndamere does benefit quite a bit. Anyway, the action died down a bit. We can return to the normal lane positions, and I have the Sightstone now, but I forgot to swap out my trinket. So I don't have a way to deny their vision, assuming they have any in the first place. And you got to see us take a huge piece out of Karthus. Sadly, I did burn exhaust there, and we got the flash for dodging the Super Mega Death Rocket. I flashed to use the Soul Shackles, and unfortunately, I get the kill there. The good news is the kill gave Jinx her passive, so she was able to get away from Yi. Me, on the other hand, I didn't have the boots, so yeah. But Mal's got that. It's not ideal, but we can kind of make do. The way he's popping out his Voidlings, I say he probably is running at least some CDR. And Jinx should have dropped her Flame Chompers there if she had them. She probably could have picked off Yi. But, oh well. So right here I'm actually looking at what do I need to build, or buy to build the Banner of Command. It builds out of the Aegis. And while it would have been nice to pick it up earlier in the lane phase, since it would have forced Yi to come bot to just deal with that minion, otherwise it's just going to push its way to the tower. It's still something that we can use to split push, since only Vayne and Yi can actually kill it. Annie and the others are going to have problems trying to deal with it. So we can just drop the super minion one lane, go push hard the other, and just hope that we can pull Yi and Vayne in. Worst come to worst, it's going to cause one of them to go elsewhere, and then we can just engage on the team. I can do my flash ult or whatever. But this is still when the Devourer was really, really overpowered, so that's why we both have a Yi and an Aatrox in the game. Both of them are using the Devourer, just trying to get stronger than the other. And they both have ways to mess with one another late game, since Aatrox has a knock-up, he has his steroids, while Yi has true damage, etc., etc. So we got some spells out of them there, it's just Jinx isn't really in a position to take advantage of it. Her zap would really hurt, and I don't remember what the range is on their spells. That's something I really don't pay attention to know if Jinx can actually poke them from outside of their spell range with her maxed fish bones. But you can see Malzahar is now at the phase where he's going to push the wave extremely hard, pretty passively at that. And we can either wait for another Aatrox gank, or we can just try to drag this out. On account of having the Nasus top, that's going to stall Vayne somewhat, and even come late game we'll have him to deal with her. So they have to come up with a solution for our Jinx, which is... well, they might have been banking on the Malzahar suppress, it's just I have Black Shield, it's not going to help. As for this, I used my ult way too early, there's no tower left, and Kassadin shows up to lend a hand. Sadly, I snared Tibbers. Vayne goes down, and that's kind of what I was talking about with the top lane. Since Nasus is having such good fortune, I don't know if you want to call it that, or if the Vayne's a moron, I wasn't watching the lane, as you can tell, it could go either way. It's just, since he's coming out ahead, that of course means he should be stronger late game. He even should be able to do a number on Vayne. She is packing Cleanse though, so depends on how the enemy team builds. They can really mess with us by getting another Cleanse item, be it QSS or just a Crucible. It's up to them on how they want to do it. But no one is here to clean this up. I go ahead and put the Black Shield on myself to deal with the Requiem. And Aatrox goes down, which is really, really bad. Don't really know where he lost his passive. I wasn't really watching that part. But right here you can see my team is mid. I don't want this to push into our tower while we're away, so I'm trying to just weaken the incoming minion wave so that it'll either stay relatively in the same place or even move forward a little bit. Bad news for us is Karthus showed up, and he can kind of push harder than me since I'm not AP Morgana. I'm not maxing the soil, so I don't have wave clear. And the Aegis is freaking expensive. Of course, the stats are going to be nice since they have an Annie, Karthus, and Malzahar. The shield's also going to help since it may help us bait out a Requiem. Worst come to worst, we might be able to deny some of the Annie bursts from Tibbers, or even maybe a little bit of whatever Malzahar throws our way. But Kassadin and Jinx go down. And Aatrox is here, but he's just too late. And the whole enemy team is in mid. Sadly, the two of us aren't really able to defend this. Even if we had Nasus with us, it really wouldn't matter too much. I really don't think you'd actually see any difference at all. There's Tibbers, he's going to mess with us, getting healed by the tower. Well, not healed, but getting shielded. Good news is he turned around and took off before we could kill him for the 40 or 50 or however much gold he's worth these days. But in the meantime, we just need to try to secure the dragon. Since it is 420, the dragon's still all about snowballing out of control. And the better you can deny it from your enemies, the better off you'll be.
Unstoppable.
Share and
Don't really know how Nasus killed Annie. It's kind of bad. So we just hit the 20-minute mark, the Baron has spawned.
all have my revenge.
the game is now 80% over. So I think there's going to be one fight and then they just throw in the towel. You may not be happy about me spoiling the ending here, but it is a guess, and well, that's pretty much the only way this game can end within the time frame, since we don't really have like much done in mid lane. The outer turret still stands, and I am maxing the black shield, or at least I'm putting some extra points into it so that we can better protect ourselves from all the magic damage coming our way. I think it also lowers the cooldown so we'd have it more often as well. Lots of benefits. We just need to make sure we take advantage of them. And poor Karthus. So Cassian goes ahead and secures the kill. And you can see him there laying waste to us. And it's our buddy Tibbers. So Cassian goes out and picks up Annie. I think I got the assist off of the black shield. And right there we got to take a little bit of Yi's health. It's not really going to amount to much. There's the freaking samurai. So I dropped the exhaust just to limit his damage to try to stop him from going ahead and doing what you're about to see. He goes ahead and kills Jinx. And it would have been nice if the team could have actually just jumped him once I snared him. But Aatrox still comes through for us. So I can go ahead and pick up the Aegis, and now I'm eyeing the banner of command. The game did last another 7 to 10 minutes. I could have made some real use out of it, it's just not this time. So there goes our pink ward, and the dragon still stands.
Feel my pain.
Okay, we might actually get a dragon fight in on this. Maybe not. Well, we're now at the 90% mark. There's Annie, but she just went straight back for the turret. As a result, the Dark Binding whiffed. Doesn't really matter since I didn't have the means to kill her, and I don't know if Cassian... I don't play him enough to know how far he can actually blink with his ult. It's just I know it's incredibly annoying, and I never really liked the character in the first place, so I don't really play him. And I almost got Yi with the Dark Binding. But we just need to keep vision, and we do have some pretty decent poke here with the Jinx Zap, the Dark Binding. Aatrox has his little sword wave thing. Nasus can split push, and then Cassian can go in as soon as someone engages. All in all, we have a decent team comp here. Just need to play it to our strengths. And poor Yi, locked down. Aatrox goes in, I hit him with the black shield to try to protect him from CC and miscellaneous magic damage. Jinx goes ahead and picks up the kill with her Super Mega Death Rocket. I kill the dragon, Cassian picks up 2 guys. And right, yeah, that's the Spirit Breaker for them. So is that the ace? No. But still we got the dragon, the mid is completely exposed. I don't know what happened with the Vayne. It's just... I said enough about the players these days. Anyway, that's Morgana's support for you guys, the final patch of 4.20, and we can move on to 4.21 now. Thoughts and observations in the description. I'm the Hero of Light. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.